We'll be going now to meet with Eugene Shabelyanau and Danny Galindo in Castro Valley. And here is a before photo of their garden. And this is the after. And this ground cover has been of great interest to people. It is a native ground cover, Lippia repens. And Danny and Eugene have a beautiful native plant garden and also a bountiful vegetable garden. They have also created the largest and most beautiful compost pile I have ever seen. I don't have a photo of that, but it was magnificent. Eugene and Danny have founded Soap Geek, which is a company where they handmade soaps. And like this one, Summer Garden Soap. And I can tell you from my own experience that their soaps are terrific. So let's go now and meet with Danny and Eugene. And I need to stop sharing. Mike, can you help me for a second? Where is my stop share? There it is. Okay. Hi, Danny and Eugene. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. Good.
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Good. Great shirts, you guys.
Thank you.
I've got mine on too. I'm going to stand up so people can see.
Nice.
We're all doing it today. Okay. So before we go on and look at your garden, I know you have a couple of great videos. So let me just ask you some questions about how your garden is a resource for the soaps you make.
Of course. Every time when Danny clips the plants from the garden, I always think of the way to reuse them. So how can I save the herbs clipping? And so what started first was drying white sage and maybe sagebrush. And then I was thinking, well, how can I incorporate those dried herbs and add them to the soaps? And the feedback that we received from the people was just overwhelmingly positive. Oftentimes, the soaps that I'm sold out are the soaps that have herbs added to them. So for example, sagebrush, I have repeated customers coming and asking, do you have more sagebrush in stock? And I'm like, no, I haven't made any anymore yet. So that's what led to starting adding the soaps, to herbs from our garden to the handmade soaps.
Okay. So how can people learn more about Soap Geek if they're interested in looking at the soaps that you have?
Follow us on Instagram at True Soap Geek, one word, and visit our website, soapgeek.com. We add new soaps regularly.
Okay. Well, let's go. There's two videos here. The first one is showcasing the early bloomer, California lilacs and manzanitas, currants and wildflowers. And so let's go now, Jessica, and look at that first video.
Ribes sanguineum, or Ribes currant, California currant, such as this currant Claremont behind me, is one of the neatest California plants. Has great flowers, tasty fruit, fragrant foliage, and a good fall color. When in bloom, the flowers attract bumblebees, honeybees, hummingbirds, and other beneficial insects to the garden. It's a great habitat plant. Some species can tolerate full sun, however, this one is in part shade, part sun, and survives the hottest months of the year with 1 to 2 full waterings during the hottest times of the year. Occasional water such as that will help to retain its green foliage throughout the year. In bloom, it's a stunning sight, and we invite you to check it out.
Manzanitas are among the most beautiful California shrubs. They vary from low-growing ground covers to large shrubs. Many of the species are evergreen, with smooth red to mahogany to chocolate-covered bark, and often with intriguing crooked stems. All bear white to pale pink, urn-shaped flowers in late winter or spring. Manzanitas are drought-tolerant once established and prefer full sun. Ours grow in clay soil with no supplemental water. In initial growing stage in their first year, they were getting water approximately once a week until established. Various of all manzanitas supposedly are edible, however, from our experience, they are not very palatable.
Ceanothus or California lilac, such as the Ceanothus Julia Phelps in front of me, is a stunning garden plant. They're easy to grow, have lovely foliage, and offer striking, fragrant flowers. Ceanothus species are drought and salt tolerant. When a California lilac bursts into bloom, it's a sight to behold. They're versatile plants for the garden due to the multiple varieties and can be grown as a centerpiece, ground cover, hedge, or even espaliate onto a wall, depending on the variety you buy. It attracts birds, butterflies, bees, bumblebees, and hummingbirds, and the seeds are very attractive to birds.
That was terrific. Thank you so much. So I had a few questions here. Somebody asked, what was the ground cover in your backyard?
So the ground cover, as you mentioned at the beginning, Kathy, is Lipia repens. It has a number of common names: Texas frog fruit, turkey tanglefoot, but we like to call it Lipia repens or Philonodiflora.
And I think that's on your plant list. I think if people want to go to the plant list, they'll probably find it there.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start converting your garden?
So we moved into this home June 2016 and began a few months after that with killing the lawn, sheet mulching in the front and in the back. We also did a little bit of sheet mulching, but in the back we did more manual removal of the lawn since I wanted a little more expedited process to be able to get started on the natives in the back, and let the front sit with sheet mulching for a little over a year before we started turning that over into a native garden.
I'm surprised that your garden is just 2016. That's just 5 years. Your manzanitas are so beautiful. Your ceanothus.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, our manzanitas, by the way, are small for their age because they are slow growers. So just so people know watching, you're not seeing a mature size of the manzanitas. Most of our manzanitas will get at least 2 to 3 times bigger than what you're seeing on the video.
I think why don't we go now and then look at your second video, and then we'll do the rest of your time for questions. Sound good?
Sure. Yep. Sounds
Okay.
good.
mute. Muted. But I can't show my screen. I guess so.
Okay, that was terrific. Really enjoyed seeing all the wildlife in your garden. So we had many questions. Let's see. A number of people asked about the music.
Oh, that first song was titled Calling in the Plants. And the name of the album is Icaro, Icaro. And the artist is Manish Demur. The last name is De, second word Moor.
Okay. And someone asked, how did you choose your plants? I know you guys designed the gardens yourself. How did you figure out what you were going to put in?
Oh yeah, that was a question. If we hired, I think somebody asked if we hired somebody for the configuration or something like that. So no, it was all, we had thought about hiring somebody, but I thought it would make it more personal if we just remained patient and utilize our own creative process so that it was organically ours from our mind, from our hearts, and kind of felt the landscape, the house, and also to avoid the expense, but it really just makes it feel more like ours when we know that 100% of the thought, the creativity, and the work went into it. It also, in a way, makes me feel more proud of what I do and encourages both of us to maintain it, because we know what we've installed, how we've installed it, where the things are, and we don't have to rely on a secondary person or worry about an expense potentially incurred from a contractor or a designer to come back and say, well, this didn't really work. What are you going to charge us for this or to do that? A lot of it is trial and error. And I tried, when I first started doing this, I didn't want to kill any plants or pull any plants, but recognize that there's such a diversity in California and we're one of many little niches. So we just had to figure out which plants work and which don't. There are some plants that I tried multiple times and just gave up on and resorted to a different plant that was better suited for our area, our environment, our precipitation needs.
How did you find your plants? Did you read books, or did you go to nurseries or use Cowscape? How did you start figuring out what you wanted to put in your garden?
So a combination of all of the above, going on hikes, seeing different plants in the area. We live right by Lake Chabot, so there are a bunch of native plants. If you know how to recognize them. There are some plants that I saw in parks on hikes that I thought, oh, I'd like to have that in my yard, and then later found out it was an invasive. But a lot of the plants we saw in parks were native, and I said, I wonder how I can incorporate that into my yard, and I wonder how I can make that look a little more tidy, because if you notice, our garden is pretty manicured compared to a lot of native gardens, and that is very intentional, and there is a lot of manual labor that goes into making a native garden look tidy and make the plants look nice year round.
There are a lot of questions about the Lipia, and so
yes.
I know you know.
So the Lipia is one of these plants that you can be charged a lot for from, say, like a major landscaping company or sod company. It is available by the roll, but if you have the patience, the dedication, the motivation, all this Lipia that you see here, I started from 1 4-inch pot, and I just started separating it over time and started plugging it in. Of course, in a very methodical method until it all started covering the whole yard. But this Lipia that you see behind us, we haven't watered it since probably August of last year of 2020. So it's had no supplemental water for over 6 months. And it's very lush, very green. It's in full bloom right now. The most work for it is edging. So you have to edge Lipia wherever you don't want it to encroach.
So the Lipia that we're talking about is the ground cover in the background here. So somebody said it really takes off. So do you find it to be problematic, or do you find it to be a manageable fast grower?
It is an extremely fast grower, and manageable, I guess, is in the eye of the beholder. I often am a little overwhelmed with how much management it requires to keep it out of all these circular beds that you see behind us, because yes, it does encroach upon them quite quickly. And if you don't have control over it, it could easily become overwhelming. I think Lipia would work best in a garden or an area that's a perfect square, where you only have to worry about edging straight lines and not worry about edging corners or rounded things or irregular edges.
So as a lawn replacement, Lipia would be a good one.
A lawn replacement is a perfect example for Lipia, where you have, 4 or 5 straight edges just to edge.
So let me see, can you tell us about watering in your garden?
Sure. So we do have a little bit of drip irrigation in the round beds that you see, but we only turn those on about a handful of times per year. Otherwise, everything's hand watered using gray water that we collect from our laundry. So we use Oasis laundry detergent, and the gray water can be used immediately on all the plants without any negative effect or burn or leaching or addition of any salts.
Okay, so it's about time for us to move on. I want to thank you for making the videos. I want to say that we've had Danny and Eugene's garden on the tour a couple times, and it's really been a hit with people. They're in Castro Valley, so I hope we can see it in person next year.
Yes, I hope so too. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for having us, Kathy.
Do you want to hop on Zoom and answer some of the questions that we didn't get to?
Sure.
Yes,
sure.
I'll go over. I'll list through. I'll scroll through, and I'll answer some of the questions.
Good, and then YouTube as well, if you feel like you want to hop over there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Kathy, for all you do.
Oh, thank you.